My husband walked into our penthouse with divorce papers and a smirk. "Pack light," he said. "I sold your precious beach house, the one your grandmother left you. We're done." He thought he'd broken me. But when I smiled back, his face went pale. He had no idea what I'd been planning for 6 months. Before we dive into how I took back everything he tried to steal from me, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. And drop a comment telling me, would you have seen this coming? Now, let me take you back to where it all started. I need you to understand something first. I wasn't always the woman who could smile in the face of betrayal. 12 years ago, when I married Gerald, I was a different person. I was 38 now, but back then, I was a rising star in financial consulting. I had clients who trusted me with millions. I could read a balance sheet like poetry and spot financial fraud from a mile away. But Gerald had this way of making me feel like all of that didn't matter, like the only thing that mattered was being his wife. He was brilliant. I'll give him that. A tech mogul who built his empire from nothing. Or so the story went. When we met at a charity gala, he pursued me like I was the only woman in the world. Within 6 months, we were married. Within a year, I'd left my career behind. He said he needed a partner, not a wife who was never home. He said we were building something together. I believed him. We lived the kind of life people dream about, a penthouse in the city with views that stretched for miles. Private jets, galas, charity events where we smiled for cameras. But the one thing that was truly mine, the one thing I never let him touch, was my grandmother's beach house. She left it to me when I was 25, and it was written in her will that it could never be sold or transferred without my explicit consent. My grandmother was a smart woman. She knew things about men and money that took me years to understand. That beach house was my sanctuary. 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, sitting right on the coast where I spent every summer as a child. It was worth about $8 million. But to me, it was priceless. Gerald hated that he couldn't control it. He'd hint, suggest, sometimes outright demand that I add his name to the deed. "We're married," he'd say. "What's yours is mine, right?" But I always refused. Something in my gut told me to hold on to that piece of independence. 6 months ago, everything started to change. Gerald's business trips doubled. He'd leave for days at a time, barely calling. When he was home, he was distant, always on his phone, smiling at messages he'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. I found unfamiliar perfume on his dress shirts. Sweet, floral, nothing like what I wore. His assistant, a 26-year-old woman named Brittany with blonde hair and ambitious eyes, suddenly started getting promotions she hadn't earned. I'm not stupid. I knew what was happening. But here's the thing about being underestimated. People get sloppy. They think you're not paying attention. They think you've gotten soft. One Tuesday night, Gerald left his iPad on the bedroom nightstand. He was in the shower and I saw a message notification pop up. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And what I found made my blood run cold. Messages between him and Brittany. Hundreds of them. "Can't wait to start our real life together. Once I'm free of her, we can finally go public. The lawyer said we can make the divorce quick and clean. Plans, detailed plans to leave me with almost nothing." My hands shook as I read through months of conversations. They'd been seeing each other for over a year. He'd been planning this divorce carefully, moving money, hiding assets, and offshore accounts. He thought I was just some housewife who'd forgotten how to read financial statements. He forgot who I used to be. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I got smart. I called my old mentor, a woman named Dr. Patterson, who taught me everything I knew about forensic accounting. "I need your help," I told her. "And I need you to keep it quiet." For the next 6 months, I became a woman on a mission. Every morning after Gerald left for work, I documented everything. I photographed text messages. I tracked his spending. I followed the money trail through shell companies and offshore accounts. I discovered he'd been embezzling from his own company, cooking the books to hide money he planned to claim as lost in the divorce. I hired the best divorce attorney in the state, a shark of a woman who worked out of a tiny office but had a reputation for destroying cheating husbands in court. I opened bank accounts Gerald didn't know about. I started my consulting business again, working from a friend's address, rebuilding my client list quietly. I transferred my jewelry, my grandmother's heirlooms, everything of value into a safety deposit box at a bank across town, and I studied that prenuptial agreement we signed 12 years ago. Gerald's lawyer had insisted on an infidelity clause. Gerald thought it was to protect him from me, never imagining he'd be the one to break our vows. The clause was simple. If either party commits adultery, they forfeit all claims to the other person's separate property. Every word of that document was burned into my memory. I also discovered something else. Gerald had been forging my signature on business documents for years. He'd gotten so comfortable, so arrogant that he didn't even bother to hide it. Well, I collected every single fraudulent signature, every illegal document. I built a case that would bury him. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday around 8 o'clock in the evening. I was in the living room pretending to read a book when Gerald walked in. He didn't kiss me hello. He didn't ask about my day. He just stood there with a folder in his hand and a look on his face I'd never seen before. Cold, calculated, almost gleeful. "We need to talk," he said, throwing the folder onto the coffee table. "I want a divorce." I looked up at him calmly. "Okay, let's talk about it." He seemed surprised by my composure. He probably expected tears, begging. Instead, I just waited. "I've already spoken to my lawyers," he continued. "You'll get what's fair, what the prenup allows. Maybe a few million to start over." I nodded slowly. "And what about the beach house?" His smile was cruel. "That's the thing. I sold it. $8 million. Transaction closes tomorrow morning." The room seemed to tilt. "You what?" "I sold the beach house," he repeated, savoring every word. "I forged your signature on the deed transfer. My lawyer says it'll hold up in court since we're married and it's marital property. You'll get half after legal fees, maybe $2 million if you're lucky." He pulled out a plane ticket from his jacket pocket. "I'm leaving tomorrow, taking a long vacation with someone who actually appreciates me. When I get back, I expect you out of this penthouse." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I smiled. A real, genuine smile. "That's interesting," I said softly. "Really interesting." His face darkened. "That's all you have to say? 12 years of marriage and that's it?" I stood up, smoothing my dress. "I'll pack tonight. We can talk to lawyers tomorrow if you want." He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. I think he expected a bigger reaction, a breakdown, something. But I just walked past him toward the bedroom, still smiling. The moment he left for his hotel, probably to celebrate with Brittany, I made one phone call to my lawyer. He took the bait. I said, "Execute everything we discussed." The next morning was beautiful, sunny, clear skies, the kind of day that makes you believe in fresh starts. Gerald was probably at his office packing for his romantic getaway when my lawyer and 2 police officers walked through his door. He was served with a restraining order, fraud charges, and a lawsuit for forging legal documents. The sale of my beach house, completely illegal, null and void. I'd already reported the forged signature to the authorities and the title company. The buyer's lawyers were threatening to sue Gerald for fraud and wasting their time. But that was just the beginning. My lawyer presented everything to the court. Every text message, every photo of him and Brittany together, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, gifts he bought her with our money. The evidence was overwhelming. Brittany offered immunity in exchange for testimony, confirmed everything. She admitted the affair. She admitted they'd planned the divorce together. She even admitted he'd promised to marry her once he was free. The prenup's infidelity clause activated like a bomb. Gerald lost all claims to my separate property. The beach house, my investments, my inheritance, all of it stayed mine. But I didn't stop there. Remember those financial statements I'd been studying? I'd sent everything to the SEC and the IRS 6 weeks earlier. Gerald's company was built on fraud, hidden accounts, tax evasion, securities violations. When the investigators showed up, his whole empire started crumbling. His business partners abandoned him. His board of directors forced him out. Brittany left him the moment his bank accounts started freezing. The man who thought he could outsmart me, who thought I was just some forgotten housewife, lost everything. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. I walked away with my beach house, my investments, a settlement that made my lawyer whistle in appreciation, and damages for his attempted fraud. Gerald, meanwhile, was drowning in legal fees, fines, and the ruins of his reputation. I'm sitting on the porch of my grandmother's beach house right now, watching the waves roll in. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized. My consulting business is thriving. Turns out a lot of people want to hire the woman who took down a corrupt billionaire. I bought the penthouse from Gerald at a steep discount when he needed cash for his legal defense. I rent it out now. Good income. Gerald's doing okay, I guess. His company barely survived the scandal. He's engaged to someone new, some social media influencer half his age, but he's broke. Really broke. All that money he hid, seized by the government, all those offshore accounts, frozen and under investigation. He lives in a regular apartment now and drives a used car. I heard through mutual friends that he tells people I destroyed him out of spite. Maybe I did. Or maybe I just stopped letting him destroy me. You know what I learned through all of this? I learned that I should have trusted my instincts earlier. Those red flags I ignored in our marriage, his need for control, his resentment of my success, the way he slowly isolated me from my friends and career, they were all there from the beginning. I just chose not to see them. I'm grateful for my grandmother's wisdom. That beach house, the one thing she made sure he could never touch, became my lifeline. It reminded me that I was someone before I became his wife, that I had value, skills, power that didn't depend on him. These days, I'm dating again, casually on my own terms. I've reconnected with friends I lost touch with during my marriage. I mentor young women in finance, teaching them to protect themselves, to never sign away their independence, to always keep something that's just theirs. The beach house is being renovated. New kitchen, updated bathrooms, but keeping all the charm my grandmother loved. It's going to be my permanent home. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of waves and remember that I'm free. Really, truly free. So that's how the man who tried to sell my sanctuary ended up losing everything instead. He thought I was just a trophy wife who'd forgotten how to fight. But you never forget who you really are. You just need the right moment to remember. If this story taught you anything, please hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever had to outsmart someone who underestimated you? What would you have done in my situation? And remember, never let anyone make you feel small. Keep your receipts, trust your gut, and never sign away what's yours. I'll see you in the next one. Stay smart.